Well, this Saturday, the hacktivist group LulzSec announced that after 50 days, their cruise had come to an end and that they'd be saying goodbye. Before we get into what that may mean, let's take a little bit of time to walk through a quick timeline of their online presence. And we did leave a few details out. There's a lot that they did. But in terms of the attacks on the government and their affiliates, here it is. In early May, they first came onto the scene. They launched their Twitter page and quickly demonstrated their skills by hacking the database for contestants on the talent show X Factor. On May 30th, the group hacked into PBS's website after they were disappointed by the Frontline documentary on WikiLeaks. There, they even posted a link to a fake story declaring that Tupac and Biggie were still alive on the public news website. In early June, the hackers stole passwords from InfraGard, a firm who works with the FBI, after they learned that the Pentagon declares some cyber attacks as tools of war. Then on June 13th, they went directly after the government. This time, the website Senate.gov. And while they didn't steal any information, they did gain access to one of the main servers for that Senate site. Now, just days later, they also went after the CIA website. However, they did not steal any information from that site. It was more of a denial of service attack than was really more of an inconvenience and an embarrassment than anything else. Now, this is also around the time when LulzSec seemed to start teaming up with another hacktivist organization, Anonymous. By June 21st, 19-year-old Ryan Cleary was arrested in the UK on the allegations that it was tied to the group LulzSec. Now, however, hackers took to their Twitter pages to say that Cleary was not involved in their efforts. And the FBI also conducted a raid on a firm located in Virginia, where they obtained a rack of servers that they deemed were suspicious. And some people speculated that that raid may have also had to do with Lulz security. On June 24th, LulzSec went after Arizona in protest of their contentious immigration law, SB 1070. The group hacked the state's Department of Public Safety and reposted emails, passwords, and other private information belonging to members of the department. And then finally, this past Saturday, LulzSec announced that they were quitting. But is this really the end of the hacktivist group? Or are they just assimilating themselves into the larger framework of the anti-security operation with Anonymous? Joining me to discuss this from our studio in New York is John Young, the webmaster of Cryptome.org. John, thank you so much for joining us tonight. For starters, some people out there are just speculating that maybe LulzSec hasn't actually quit and they were just doing this to gain a little attention or for more lulz to get a laugh out of people. What do you say?
I think these hackers will not go away. I think they will use different kinds of operations to do what they do, and that I think that they're just the tip of the iceberg. I think there are thousands of people doing this activity. Well, most of them do not seek publicity.
Well, I think that's interesting that you say that, is that most of these people do not seek publicity. What do you make of the very public manner in which first Anonymous and then Lulz Security, which I guess you could say even more, conducted their hacking campaigns?
Well, it's a matter of personal style. Some folks like to work in public and get attention. Others like to work quietly. This is true in the security field as well. Some of the loudest mouths in the security field are not very good. The best people keep it quiet. This is true in military affairs as well as spying and hacking, so that the people who get the most attention are not the best people.
So are you saying that perhaps LulzSec is not the best?
Not at all. But they are quite good at getting publicity, and so there is a style of doing this for publicity and attention, and that's okay. Quite a number of celebrated people do things like this for attention, but most of the competent people do not seek attention. They do it quietly. Okay,
so then you're, in that case, who is the best out there that perhaps we don't know about? Where are they working for the government? You and I have spoken about this before, the possibility of many hackers working as FBI informants, or are they independent?
I would call them independent. The best ones are independent. They do not affiliate with government or with commerce or with institutions. They keep it to themselves. However, they are available to work with institutions like this, but institutions are typically inept and incompetent, and that's why they need publicity. They put more money into press releases than they do into technology.
Well, I'm just wondering, there was a lot of speculation that perhaps there was some infighting within Lulz Security. Of course, there were other groups of hackers that threatened to expose some of their names. Do you think that sometimes, they claim that there's only 6 of them. Is it easier sometimes to just become a part of a larger, loose collection, people like anonymous rather than only having 6 people be LulzSec security, where you put yourself at more risk for exposure?
Well, I'll just say that there are a number of ways that people come at this. There's the lone wolf, there's the small group, there's the large group, there's the temporary affiliation that allies with different people, and they stay loose. The best people stay on the move. They do not settle into any predictable pattern because they don't like to be traced that way. And so that LulzSec, I think, has moved on to a different formation.
Do you think that they may have gotten scared off a little bit? Because, of course, Ryan Cleary was arrested in the UK, although they said that they were only loosely affiliated with him. There were stories coming out that, indeed, the government was trying to create some sort of investigation to go after them and find them.
The government will have a hard time finding these folks, and they pretend various things. They pretend fear, they pretend hilarity, they pretend to be smarter than they are or dumber than they are. They're actually comedians, and they assume different forms.
They're comedians. I'm sure that they'll like hearing that. What do you think of the way that the media really has jumped upon this story? I mean, we here on the Alona Show, we've been covering Anonymous. We've covered LulzSec security since they first came onto the scene. But then you even have, the mainstream news organizations suddenly start reporting on them every single day.
It's pretty shallow stuff. It's kind of eye-catching, but there's very little information in most of these stories, and many of them don't provide any original information. They tend to report stuff that's already been reported elsewhere. Occasionally you'll find someone who gets some deeper information, but most of it's pretty shallow.
Do you think that some people are in fact concerned? I've read a few critiques saying that the media has been too kind to Anonymous and to LulzSec security because they're simply just too scared to critique them because, in that case, they themselves might get hacked. Do you think that hackers are somebody that should scare journalists?
No, I think journalists probably don't understand much of this, and they're doing the best they can. But I think it takes some technical skills that most journalists don't have to understand this stuff, so they do it in a shallow way. Now, I should say their readers prefer the shallow way, too, but eventually there'll be more and more people who have the skills of hackers, and it'll become an ordinary skill, just like learning to read. But it's a generational thing and an educational thing. A lot of this stuff is taking place outside of formal schools of education. And these young people are teaching themselves, and they do have some older people working with them, but the best people are self-taught.
Well, I'm just curious, too, how far do you think the government might go if we do indeed keep seeing more of these hacks in terms of trying to crack down and go after them? Do you think they actually have any idea what they're doing?
I think they're on a publicity campaign right now to inflate the threat. They're actually seeking greater funding for cyber warfare. There's several initiatives going on around the world for this, and I think that they will balloon the threat. But the General Accounting Office the other day reported that most of the DoD leadership are totally inept about these matters, but they're good at publicity.
All right, John, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. And, of course, we'll have to wait and see if LulzSec really is done and whether anti-security operation and Anon do keep leading the charge there. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.